So with all the alarm clocks I've got that I've shown some in some previous videos, like the nickel-plated Westclox models and the Baby Ben models from 1915 to 1964, what's your favorite alarm clock to use? That's a question I occasionally get on my website. Well, you're looking at it right here. And this sort of explains all. Seth Thomas, automatic 8-day long alarm. It's a real nice clock to use, real easy to operate, just has one control. In this position it's ready to go off when the alarm time comes. To silence it in the morning, simply take the lever and move it over and release. To silence it to where it does not alarm at all, move it over and lock it. Very simple operation. Uses a double-ended key to wind. Large end used to wind the alarm and time. The small end you use to regulate the speed of the clock and to set the time which the alarm would ring. As you can see, this is the alarm dial. It is marked AM and PM, so it will ring once every 24 hours if the lever is set to the left down below the dial. You use the small end of the winding key to set the alarm and to regulate. It's a pretty easy clock to use. It has a very interesting little secret. Turn it around to the back, and I've removed the back of the case. As you can see, it's a Seth Thomas Model 89 movement that's been modified to be an alarm clock. On the left here is the conventional 8-day American striking clock time train. There's the conventional regulator setup that was used by Seth Thomas in their mantle clocks. So there's a gear there, so you can regulate the pendulum without ever stopping it. It even has, get some light in here, it even has a pretty nice semi-deadbeat escapement, just like would be used in a Sonora chime clock, or by other companies in their mantle clocks. But where the striking train is supposed to be for the hour strike is a little different. Instead, we have an alarm train. The spring, the great wheel, and the second wheel are all interchangeable with a standard count wheel Seth Thomas Model 89 striking clock. In place of the third wheel is an escape wheel. And in place of where the fourth wheel would go is a verge. Where the fly arbor would go, they've not done anything. In fact, you can see they've changed so little on the way the plates are made. The arbor at the back and dial side plates, the holes or pivot holes are still there for the fly arbor that would regulate the speed of the striking. The most change happens though on the dial side of the movement, and I don't have the dial removed to show you. I've got some photos on my website that I took when I took the movement out of the case and showed the dial side and everything. But there's a cam and a series of levers there that operate the alarm trip that allow it to activate once in 24 hours. It's a conventional 89 movement otherwise, but it's not marked with 89 anywhere, even though it is a variation on the 89 movement. Rather unfortunately, though, is the fact that this bell is not the correct bell. This bell is off of an Ingraham clock. The bell and the bell mounting bracket were missing off this clock. It's the exact same bell and bracket that would be used for the half-hour bell on a on one of the black metal clocks. Here I've got a black metal clock from a competitor's make. This is a Gilbert, and the half hour on this clock is struck on a bell instead of on the gong that the hours are struck on. That was sort of a popular thing with clocks of that style. And it's no exception on this clock. In fact, you can see the original Seth Thomas mounting bracket would have. This is an original Seth Thomas screw I salvaged out of a parts movement so that the threads stayed the same. And then there's two locating holes on either side where locating tabs would have gone on to keep the foot mounted the right way. So what I've done here is I've used the mounting foot off of a an old British clock. This is the foot that would mount the dial, the movement to the case, and then I've attached the Ingraham bell that has a stud riveted to the bell to that foot, and used that foot as a bracket and secured it with the screw. Eventually, I'd like to have an original Seth Thomas gong assembly, the bell gong, on this to make it correct, but as far as functionality, it works just fine. And I guess it's in order to do a demonstration on the alarm. So what we'll do is we'll come around to the front here and we'll activate the alarm so it's ready to operate now. And I have the alarm set to go off at about 5:45. And that was noon, 1 p.m. So I'm going to have to run the dial round. So I'll do that. We can watch what goes on back here. It runs in beat on my nightstand. It sounds like it might be a little bit out of beat sitting here on the desk. I don't think it's quite level here. Or it might not be quite level on the nightstand. I usually adjust clocks to where if the surface is slightly out of level, it'll run in beat without having to be shimmed or anything. Because generally that's where it's going to sit. And of course on a clock like this, you want it to run correctly all the time. You don't want it to stop in the middle of the night, and then you won't wake up. Feels like I just passed. Yep, I'm at 1 o'clock. 2, 3. Alright, you heard that, so it's getting ready to cock. Feels like we're at 4 o'clock, maybe 5. There's 15 after, half hour. There we go. So it was at 5. There, it's silenced. So there you go. Automatic 8-day long alarm. Now, I've silenced it just by moving the lever to the right and then releasing it. You can see the lever there, back side of the lever right there. So that means that automatically 24 hours from now, it's going to ring again without any attention from me. And it will do that continuously until the springs run down. I think I've never rung it continuously and counted it, but I think it'd be a pain in the ass. But I believe the alarm will run for about 30 minutes before the spring runs down and stops. So you can run this thing and barely have to really wind it. The time slot will run for about 12 days before it starts to time starts to get off. I think after 14 or 15 days it stops. I usually wind it every 7 days. The alarm side, you usually stick the key in there and check it and see how far up the spring fills. But you know, within 20 or 30 seconds I've silenced the alarm. Sometimes, usually within 10 seconds of it ringing, I'm up and have silenced the alarm. So you'll go for a very long time there before you have to wind it. But this is my favorite clock. This is the clock I use on a daily basis for getting up in the morning. Very reliable. Works regardless of what the electric power is doing. The only variable that's not reliable about it is me, whether I've wound it or not. But like I said, usually Sunday night, wind it. That's your insurance that you're going to get up throughout the week. And then just got to remember to put the alarm in the silent position on the weekends. And then, it has this handy dandy little hook feature here, so that if you're moving the clock about, you can stop the pendulum and use that to hook it so that it doesn't flop about and possibly damage the escapement or the suspension spring. So that's a pretty neat little feature there. So I like Seth Thomas clocks. They seem to be pretty well designed clocks. They're well thought out, well designed. I've never had one that I've been disappointed in. So there you go. Let's turn it back around and get another view of the dial. We got a very nice dial. So I think you can pick these clocks up somewhat inexpensively. I think the going rate for one, and in decent condition it can be made to run, is probably in the neighborhood of $70 to $80. And of course, this one's got a very beautiful quarter saw note case. Very lovely wood, and then very nice dial here. I imagine it's the same dial and excussion assembly that would be used on a conventional manual clock. It's got this nice pie crust detail here. And it's got this very nice detail here, the stamped brass. And then, like I said, real easy to use. Get another view of the alarm dial here. Now that there's not a hand over it. So, looking for a good, reliable clock, I suggest you find one. So, this is Oklahoma Bridges, and thank you for watching.